As you begin to wake up from this role of being scapegoated and you finally realize, oh, this is what has been happening to me. This is why it's been so painful trying to love someone who was treating me like they hated me. Once you start to wake up from that and you start to leave that role, part of the journey of healing is understanding some of the issues that we can face as a result of having been scapegoated. Hi, my name is Olivia. I'm passionate about helping you understand what relational trauma is so that you can heal, overcome it, and ultimately move on with your life. So when we're looking at some issues that scapegoats face, they're pretty common. And that can almost be a comfort when we realize, okay, it's not that something's so wrong with me. It's not that I'm so broken. It's not that I'm so messed up that now I'm just a mess forever. It's no, there are these issues. It's pretty common and you can heal. And part of that healing journey is going to walk you through what those issues are and then help you to overcome it. So we're going to look at 4 of those issues that are pretty common that we can face as scapegoats, because this is going to help us be able to watch for them and to be more mindful if we're kind of engaging in those behaviors. So once you stop being scapegoated and you get around people who you could potentially have a good relationship with, or even just in regular life, even if you're in that scapegoat role, these issues can come up and they can cause problems in relationships. And it's really confusing because for us, this is how we've been surviving. But then if we come over here and do these same behaviors, now they're causing a problem and now we're the problem. And that also really hurts. I don't know if you've ever tried to, be with someone and you've had some of these issues come up and it's embarrassing. It's super confusing. It's very painful. And a lot of times the relationship ends and we're just left feeling worse and even more confused. So we're going to unpack some of these today and take a look at them so that you can begin to identify them if you struggle with them. Okay, so the first one is a need to prove that you're good or worthy. When you've been scapegoated and you've had a smear campaign ran on you, then it's really important for you that you're doing everything you can so that you don't give someone a reason to say anything bad about you, so that you don't have other people not like you or other people ultimately leave you. So when you're trying to prove that you're good or trying to prove that you're worthy, that makes it so you don't get to have any boundaries. You don't ever get to say no. Just like anyone else has a right to say no, we don't actually get access to that same right, because if we say no, then someone could go tell someone that we said no, and then they're going to think that we're bad, and then we're going to get left. So the smear campaign is really good at getting us afraid of what someone could say about us. So we just, again, give up our rights oftentimes. We don't have any boundaries. Again, we don't have the right to say no. We will learn that other people get to feel good as we feel bad. That's just part of what happens. People are good, people are happy, and we're left, not really fulfilled, not really satisfied, but it helps us give this false illusion of being safe because we feel like we've done everything we could. But when you're waking up from that role of scapegoat, you start to realize, someone could say anything they want, no matter how good of things I've done. So it really doesn't actually matter what I'm doing. So looking at that first one, that need to prove that you're good or that you're worthy, is really not our friend. And it does come from having our name smeared in the mud. And again, that gets us to give up our rights. Then we can't say no, and we don't have the ability or the same right to set any boundaries. All of this, by the way, comes from A Scapegoat No More Forever. You can find it on Amazon.com. This all comes from page 21. This is part of chapter 3. So the next issue that we can face, so beyond that need to prove that we're good or the need to prove that we're worthy, the next issue is that we try to defend and explain ourselves way too much. So it could be like we come off very defensive, and also we over explain. So when you're a scapegoat, and the same thing, when that smear campaign where someone is smearing your name into the mud or running your name into the ground, they're just lying and saying really bad things about you. When that happens, it can cause us to really get on the defense. It can cause us to really get to a place where we don't learn that we have a right to privacy. So anything that's in your head, your thoughts, anything that's in your heart, like hopes, dreams, past traumas, past failures, you kind of learned that that's free for all. That's free game for anyone. Someone doesn't need your permission to access that. So when we try to show our innocence and we're trying to show how nothing, it wasn't our fault, then we can really over explain, or we can get really defensive. When we're defensive, The problem with that is if there were to be an actual problem, we can't hear it. So even if someone were to come to me and say, "Hey, Olivia, the other day, this is what you did, and this is what you're supposed to do instead." I mean, to me, that's the scariest thing. And so then here I go and really defensive. When we all do stuff wrong, we all need to be told how to do something different at certain times in our lives, like at a job. If I'm doing something wrong at a job, I have to be at a place where I can hear that so that I can do the job the way it's supposed to be, or so that I can do a better job. But when I've been scapegoated and you're coming to me, right, I'm immediately going to feel like, oh, now you're going to start a smear campaign. Now you're going to tell everyone I did wrong. So instead of just accepting the critique or the information that I need to tweak, I'm just going to defend, and over explain myself. I'm just going to try to shut it all down. And that is really not helpful in a relationship. So the other thing with over explaining, let's say that there's a problem again at work, and rather than just being able to address it, I feel the need to tell every reason why I did everything the way that I did it. So instead of just answering someone's question, I'm like over explaining the whole entire thing in an effort to show them how it's not me or it's not something that I did. So again, that is not helpful, right? That doesn't do anything to build trust in relationships. It doesn't do anything to have good communication. It's really a waste of time. And in the end, I'm going to walk away probably feeling really small and pathetic and scared. So that's another issue that we can face when we've been scapegoated. Okay, the third one is people-pleasing behaviors. When you engage in people-pleasing behaviors, you're more worried about how the decisions you make affect someone else, or how someone else is going to feel about the decisions that you make. That's very common in people pleasing. And that's a problem because we're supposed to make decisions based off our values, based off of our morals, based off what it is we want and need in our life. But when you're stuck in people pleasing behaviors, you're trying to guess how what you're about to say or do is going to make someone else feel. And then you're curtailing, or you're changing your behavior to line up with that. You're making your decisions based off of them and how they're going to feel, rather than what it is you believe, your own morals, your own values, and even your own wishes. So people pleasing can actually get you to step outside of your own values. It can cause you to step outside of your own morals. You may end up backbiting, stabbing someone in the back that you actually really like because you were so fixated on getting these people's acceptance that you ended up selling someone out that you actually do love and respect and care about very much. So people pleasing is really quite a burden. It is painful. And remember, it's when you're trying to make a decision based off how you believe someone else is going to feel about your decision, rather than making your decisions based off how you feel and what it is you believe. So that's very common for those of us who've been scapegoated. And the last one is victimization. So with victimization, it's not to say that true victimization cannot occur, obviously, or that it hasn't occurred. But with victimization as an issue that we face, it's more that we try to make ourselves so innocent so that it can't be our fault, that no one can say we're the bad guy, that we're not going to have a smear campaign ran on us, that we're not going to get punished. So same thing if I'm having a problem at work, rather than dealing with the problem and just looking at what the problem is or maybe how I was treated, instead, I go to work on trying to prove my innocence. And I can, even in a roundabout way, make myself a victim, which means if I have a victim, I need a villain. So I can actually end up vilifying someone else, trying to prove my innocence and making it look like I'm the one who's the victim, rather than just being able to deal with the problem. So these are kind of the problems that come up for us when we've been scapegoated. You could see how these issues are going to cause us problems in relationships, even though that is not our intention, right? If we're trying to love someone or have friends at work or have friends in general, and we keep battling these same 4 issues that are very common for scapegoats to face, then we're going to keep having problems and almost re-scapegoating ourselves as we're trying to move forward. So it's really important that we pay attention when we catch ourselves over explaining or defending ourselves or making someone else a villain so that we could be innocent, or trying to defend ourselves. All of those things are not bad unless we're using it when we don't need to. That's the problem. And this is why it becomes an issue, because we're not able to just address regular life, but we're more trying to prove something, right? I think that's really the basis of all of them. We're trying to prove something to someone. And remember, it's not your job to prove anything. Your job is to be a human being and to live a life that brings you peace and that is in alignment with your beliefs. That's what our job is. But when we've been scapegoated, our job then solely becomes to prove that we're innocent. And that's where all these issues can come from. So if you catch yourself trying to prove something, be mindful. It's not my job to prove something. Try to take a step back and take a look at it. And eventually we're going to talk about how to overcome some of these issues that we can face. Again, you can find all of this and more from A Scapegoat No More Forever. You can find it on Amazon. I also have a course, full course linked in the description below. And you can go through and watch the videos in the playlist. I'll also leave some videos over somewhere on the screen that you can click on and watch for more videos in this series. So take good care, and I'll see you in the next one.